So if there's anything that I've experienced throughout my life is not just imposter syndrome, right? And some of that's innate, right? It comes from within. Like, why am I, worth the investment, either from somebody giving it to me who I respect, or my career? Maybe I don't think I actually have what it takes in order to succeed, right? You may feel the same way. You'll find that, or at least in my experience, I find that cultural guilt, right, whether it be Christian guilt for sinning, having impure thoughts, right, they drive an extreme anxiety. And that anxiety, in a lot of ways, traps us from, I think, teasing out our best selves and teasing out really what differentiates us, right? So say in the case of a career, right? Why should I hire you? I have typing skills. I have customer service skills. Okay, well, what does that mean? Like, anyone can say that they've been doing customer service. Anyone can say that they can type. I can think analytically. Okay, well, that sounds interesting. Flesh that out. What does that mean? Well, I can take a process. I can look to see if I can improve that process in any way by understanding the different variables that go within executing each different step. Is there a way to perhaps lessen the amount of waste, whether that be time or resources, or maybe cutting through bureaucratic red tape in order to eliminate a step, right? Perhaps there's a step that goes to an entirely different department for a signature just to come right back. And now that department, or the reason for it, perhaps budget constraints, have caused that department to really no longer be relevant in this decision, right? So things need to be reinvestigated. But you'll find, again, in my experience, and I suspect in yours as well, that not only are we battling our own confirmation bias, but the cultural guilt really handcuffs us and prevents us from advocating for ourselves in the best manner possible. Right? And so why should I hire you? Okay, well, this is a time for you to advocate for yourself. And certainly you can show some humility, right? You don't need to talk about how amazing you are, but this is not a time for you to couch your skills in like weak speak, right? Don't try to qualify your skills in the sense of like perhaps aiding the idea of your imposter syndrome. Right? If you really think that you have the skills to do it, or even if you don't have the skills currently, you think that you have the ability to gain those skills, well, then act confidently. Right? This is an interview. The interviewing manager understands that you are putting on your best foot. And while your best foot is appreciated at work, it's really not expected. I mean, it would be nice if you did give it. You may not be able to have that ability because people understand that in interview, in some ways, you stretch the truth, right? Because it's hard to really, well, and maybe not even just stretch the truth, but stretch the quantifiable truth, right? There's a lot of soft skills. There's a lot of things that you bring that just aren't documented. And this is the time for you to talk about that. And so when I say stretch the truth, you can literally be truthful about what you did, but you can stretch the truth as far as how you were acknowledged about it. And so if you feel that you have real skills that you bring that are the reason why perhaps you got a job or the reason why perhaps you got a promotion, well, then figure out a way, again, to advocate for those. And I would say the biggest way to advocate for yourself really is a resume. And a lot of people really don't appreciate the amount of time that you should take to craft a resume. And crafting a resume is something that you should probably have a template that has about 80% to 90% similarities. Right, you're going to change a few things here. You might change some of your work history depending on how hyper relevant versus not it is. You may change some of the way in which you quantify your resume, and you got to understand that there's no longer an HR manager that looks through this information and scans it for relevant skills. Right, this goes through basically a word search program that's just looking for keywords, and if it stands out, then it gets flagged. If it gets flagged, then the HR manager will then go ahead and pass it on, right? And so how do you get your resume flagged? Well, keywords are a great way to do that. And a good way to consider those keywords, one is an opening statement, right? If you look at my resume here, you'll see, research and communications data coordinator, right? The point of this for me, right? What is it telling? So I do research. What else is it telling? That I have the ability to communicate, and that I also have the ability to coordinate. And is there an ability to make this better? Sure, of course, right? This is not the end-all be-all. This is simply here to help drive perhaps some creativity for you guys, hoping that you'll be able to kind of take this as a template format. And then look at this. Top performing administrative and research support with over 8 years of experience in diverse medical environments. Outstanding reputation for maintaining excellent customer service and GCP, global clinical practice standards. Experience succeeding in high demand environments. Successfully built and executed protocol for research pilots within a large longitudinal cohort. And so that's a lot. Right? Anyone who understands research, that's going to make sense. Who don't understand research, then it won't make sense. And so there's things in here showing that I have the ability to not just coordinate, but build from the ground up, right? That's what a pilot is. And so this is an opening statement that's trying to basically say, why do I have this title? Right? Here's my title, and this is a short explanation of why. And you can tell I didn't really put a lot of words that you would expect when having a conversation, a lot of filler words, right? I removed a lot of filler words just because I want to get to the point, right? I got limited real estate. At the same time, while you have limited real estate, if you have the idea that your resume should just be one page, you have a very outdated notion of what you need to have on a resume, right? That was something, one page is because it was a human looking at it. Right, there's computers looking at it now, so it's pretty much pointless to only have it one page. In fact, you're probably going to hurt yourself if you only have it one page. Right, you'll see here that I have multiple pages. And now look at this. I created in Word here. I created a table, and so now I have got I can have this areas of expertise. Then I can have professional experience here. You can see within this table, right? I've got things hidden. So you don't see the cells there, but I've got, again, different keywords, right? If there's a computer that's listening for these keywords and no longer a person, well, how do I feed a computer? I just simply put it there and it looks for them, right? Volunteerism. What's something, especially I work at a major university. What is it that they like? Volunteerism. Heck yeah. Yeah, and point of contact for division leadership for data-driven strategic decisions, decreasing wait times for patients. So what did I just do? I decreased wait times for patients, right? And maybe I have to then perhaps talk about that and justify it if they bring it up. It would probably help if I put a percentage base there. To be honest, it's still relatively new, and I wanted to put this on here just because there's things that you can have that are good ideas that you can always make better. Or I just thought of a way to make this better. I don't necessarily have the ability yet because I'm still waiting on data, and there's some things in the midst right now that are that were newly implemented that I just simply have to wait. Irons in the fire, and that's part of what this is. So I have a new thing here, and so if you have a good idea, figure out how to put it on there, and then justify it and say, oh, well, look, this it's not just that I've done good stuff. I'm still doing good stuff, and yeah, I wanted to throw it on there, right? It's important to me. And so I would say that's why you would want to put something on there that you wouldn't necessarily be able to quantify in concrete terms. Point of contact for advanced data analytics using multiple platforms, aiding as much as 40% increase in 5 months. How much? 40% increase, right? So I put specific and how much time? 5 months. Wow, right? And so this is clinical fill, and I do all the data, I do all the presenting, so I just have this. I know exactly what division I'm thinking of here. Host collaborative meetings with leadership to determine actionable goals and follow up next meeting. So what do? We figure out actionable goals. What do we do then? Well, then we follow up on those actionable goals, right? It's one thing to determine a goal, but if you never follow up on it, what good is it, right? Created a operations report detailing areas of opportunity for immediate focus, improving division buy-in, right? And so this is something, again, that is a little unquantified, right? Division buy-in by how much, right? By a lot, by a little. And so this is something where I have got anecdotes from my boss where I've had presentations and there's division leaders who typically just don't talk. They don't even turn their camera on when we're doing Zoom meetings just because they just don't care. But I've actually been able to harness their intellectual curiosity by providing data that they feel is actually valuable. And they keep asking lots of questions. And my boss is dumbfounded. And I'm actually the fourth iteration of my job. Little did I know. I thought I was the first. But apparently 3 others just failed at it because it's a very nebulous idea that takes somebody creative to figure it out, right? And so if you have the ability to be creative, right, I can't necessarily quantify my creativity, nor can I quantify how much ability it has allowed me to kind of leverage opportunities throughout my life and negotiate ways through pathways through my career. And so part of this is creative. And is that the best for a resume? Maybe not. But is this better than your resume? I don't know. You tell me, right? And so let's see, successfully providing value as reported by division leadership where 4 others before me failed, right? 4 others. So actually that was the 5th then, my fault. So 4 others before me failed. And so what did I do? I took something and I succeeded where 4 other people failed. Man, I'm a badass, aren't I? Right? And that's the point of this resume. That doesn't mean I'm going to go and like grab a star out of the sky and let out some, He-Man roar or like some Macho Man Randy Savage. Man, it always thrashes in my throat. Research coordinator, right? So this is University of Utah as well. So you can see in here different things. I don't need to read everything to you. I wanted to kind of read that so I can explain, right? You'll be able to look at the resume here, and I want you to consider if your resume doesn't look like this, does it look better, and if not, what can you do to make it look like this? Right? Education, volunteerism. So this is what. Oh, here we go. So look at this. Data manager, admin assistant. So this is very important. So look at that. Dead Moon Gaming. Well, what's Dead Moon Gaming? Well, Dead Moon Tribe, bro. Right? So I was a part of the Gorefiend server in World of Warcraft back in 2004. So I got out of the army. Around my ETS date is December 27th of 2003. Or rather was, I guess, because it came and gone. And so in 2004 by March, maybe? February? Yeah, March, I think. Picked up the game, was playing it. And played a druid. Really loved druid. Really loved the druid. It sucked that druids were really a shadow of a real player. My innervate didn't even belong to me half the time. Anyway, Dead Moon game. So Dead Moon Tribe was my guild. And so data manager, admin assistant. Well, I was an officer within the guild. So certainly a manager, right? I'm a guild manager. Right. This is also people management. As a guild manager, you have to quell riots within the guild. People get pissed. Back when there's DKP, man, the loot system now is so much easier. But with DKP, boy oh boy, was it rough. And then especially playing as Horde, and you get nothing but pally drops, and you can't even play pallies as Horde, and it's insane. Allies get shaman drops. Can't use shaman stuff because they have pallies, and so it's super frustrating. Anyways, dealing with that, right? That's coming back to the people management that I have, and I can talk about that within my volunteerism and tie that in. So Dead Moon Gaming / Stormbringer Entertainment, right? The guild I'm in right now is Stormbringers. And so I've been gaming for a long time, but it's really, 3-1. I should probably separate this out to be truthful. So it's really 3-1 of 04 to 11, I guess about 11:30, give or take, 11:30 of 10. And then I picked it back up in 2021. So I guess that's not fair to be current, right? I need to update that. And so that way I still have substantial, right, decades of time doing this. I guess not decades. I have it detailed as decades of time, but I obviously have not, right? I just detailed I have basically 6.5 years. Collected, processed, and categorized all assets of value and detailed them online for easy user interface. What does that mean? Well, you ever used eBay? Yeah, well, it's kind of like that. Oh, wow. Well, that's cool. Yeah. Well, that's how we did DKP, right? You had to do online reports. You had to collect the data. You had to process it. You had to categorize it for the different classes, for the different people. And then you detail it for people to know what their DKP is. Yeah, especially if you're not just running 40 mans, but you're also running 20 mans, right? Zul Garub, Encourage, etc. Mentorship program helping others with public speaking and organizing / displaying data via MS Excel. So you become friends with people. I help people with how to do Excel spreadsheets, but then also like currently, I take people through my routes on Mythic Dungeon Tools. Right, Mythic Dungeon Tools, bro. I use Mythic Dungeon Tools. Like, you're gonna say like that's a skill? Of course, it's a skill, right? Think if you play World of Warcraft right now and you're in Necrotic Wake, and you get up to Stitch Flesh, right? You get up to say Stitch Flesh. So you get to the third boss platform, haven't pulled any ads, and you're at 73%. Yeah, you know what happens? Yeah, you summon Pride halfway through. So you kill the two mini ads that throw the cleavers, right? So you clear everything there. The two mini boss ads spawn that throw the cleavers, and then after that you summon in the left corner, right? I guess stage right, as Stitch Flesh is facing. You summon ads there. You're gonna kill one ad and summon Pride. So then you're gonna have a whole, you're gonna have the biggest ad there that's beating on you, right? Whatever that named abomination is, and so you have Pride with him. And then what happens? That if you happen to kill them before you kill Pride, well then another set of ads, are gonna populate because you're only getting about 2.8%, something like that, from those packs. So and I think you only want to show up, if I recall, like 69%. So so if you're at there 4% extra, man, you're hurting. Right, so Mythic Dungeon Tools isn't important, right? It's incredibly important, right? How do I map out where I get my 20% and summon Pride when it's safe, right? So tell me about a time when, right? I'm in an interview. Tell me about a time when you had a difficult project, and you had difficult time, meeting the deadline, and what did you do, right? Or just a difficult time, and how did you react, right? However that is going to be worded. Oh yeah, totally. Well, there was a project that we had, with Dead Moon Gaming. We had an issue with processing, really kind of the process implementation to make sure that we're actually following the right regulations, as necessary. And some regulations just are just like any sort of rules, they can be bent. No, you don't want to go into that. So some regulations, are more important than others, right? Some, in the same way that federal regulations might take precedent over local regulations. So you've got to be able to go through the data, figure out what's most important. And so regulations, you can then say, you're regulating your Mythic Dungeon Tools based upon perhaps, tyrannical versus, bolstering, versus inspired, right? Whatever. And so processing, and in order to make sure that we were able to accomplish on time, right? So you're being timed in Mythic Dungeons, so we could actually accomplish on time, so meet our goal, our deadline, and actually follow a implementable path by being able to seek. I sought an online application, right? I sought the internet online application. I was able to analyze my route. I was able to look and analyze my route in which we followed our pathway, so I could recreate it. Did we actually follow the rules and the regulations? Analyze and strategically pinpoint where any mistakes were made, so we could actually zip that up and make sure that in the future, we're meeting our goals and our deadlines. Right, and so I kind of talked, kind of out here in a very tangential, out there, and kind of, went a little crazy, and didn't really give a direct answer like you were necessarily an employer. But I think you get the idea, right, based upon this answer, how you could string together something like this. A comprehensive process improvement analysis based upon AAR, after action review, improving production by nearly 15%, right? And so for a while, I actually was, I had a bunch of plus 14s and plus 13s, and I was having a hard time getting any plus 15s. And then I was thinking, did I accidentally get here? And the answer was no. Yeah, I did not accidentally get to, being able to tank plus 14s, right? And because there's just too much involved with me tanking a plus 14. And did I accidentally get there? No. Okay, well, do I know what I'm doing? Well, I don't know. Let's see. Let's open up Mythic Dungeon Tools. Okay, well, yeah, in many cases I did know exactly what I was doing. And then it reassured me that I knew exactly when Pride was going to pull. And in cases like Necrotic Wake, where you can get pats or not get pats, skip or not skip, people aggro, people don't aggro. I mean, all sorts of bullshit happens, or all sorts of stuff happens, and you got to be able to adapt, and being able to figure out how best to take your route. Right, I ended up getting Keystone Master in a couple of days, and what it was is I spent time going through my Mythic Dungeon tools, right? I spent about 2 hours going through each different dungeon, making sure that I knew exactly what I was doing. And then in order to time 8 plus 15s, I did it in, I think it was 12 runs. And by the time you get to 15, a lot of people really know what they're doing. I was also the one who made sure that my route was pristine, that I knew exactly what I was doing, that I could coordinate beforehand, right? Halts of Atonement. A lot of times you pull 7 ads at the beginning. Well, the 2 other ads, way in the back, right? One's an Obliterator that's just going to stand there unless he's interrupted. And so when I timed it, I brought in a DK. I let him know, hey man, can you go ahead and grab that guy for me and just corral him, and he's going to stand there like an a-hole and just sit there and cast. Do you think you can do me a solid? Yeah, bro. And it worked out perfectly. It was great. And so pretty wonderful being able to get that assistance, but you can't really get that proper assistance if you can't convey, right, how to ask. And you may not necessarily be able to convey how to ask if you don't know what you're doing. And you may not know what you're doing if you don't pull up Mythic Dungeon tools. And so, I mean, it's incredibly important. And so if you haven't considered that, I'd highly encourage you to figure out how to, again, add this. And volunteerism, right? People love volunteerism. People want to pontificate, like, man, you volunteer, what a good person you are, right? And, eat that up and make sure you lean on it. So you are, again, advocating for yourself in a manner in which is going to yield positive results. And you became a large shareholder by undertaking each business opportunity while maximizing human resource value, leading to nearly 50% reduction in loss through attrition. Right? People get really burnt out in raids, and people get really frustrated if you wipe and wipe and wipe and wipe. Having a good attitude really helps people. And especially back in the Molten Core days, when there's times where I remember with a casual guild, Dead Moon was not a hyper, was not any sort of like hyper crazy guild as far as pushing raids. I want to say we got halfway through Encourage 40 before we got, or rather, the Burning Crusade came out. We're doing full clears of BWL. I want to say that we could clear Molten Core and BWL in 4 hours. But when we first started, we were taking 4 hours to wipe on like the second Core Hound, which is not even like the first boss yet, and it's insane. And so there's a lot that goes into learning this, and like for you to harness and harvest all this experience and all this time, and then not use it to advocate for a better material condition. That's a real travesty. And again, I highly encourage you to make sure that you are implementing what's best, what skills that you have to offer. And interviews are no time for weak speak. Resumes are no time for weak speak. You get the job, yeah, that's fine. It's fine to couch it and like, hey, I really think I can do this, so I don't necessarily want to come off as any sort of conceited, arrogant person, right? That's totally appropriate. But don't be, and it's certainly fine to be like, hey, I don't want to come off as arrogant, but I think I can do this, in an interview. But don't be like, well, I'm just not sure about my skills. I've only been doing it for a year, right? I've been doing this for years. We've been doing it for a year, right? And again, fake it till you make it. Remember that fake it till you make it is absolutely a viable strategy if you intend to make it. Because if you intend to make it, you're probably going to put in the resources and invest the time in order to make it. If you don't intend to make it, well, then it's likely you'll wash out. You might get lucky, right? And who knows? Maybe you will make it even if you don't intend to. But how do I help myself by advocating for myself in the best light? Step 1, resume. Again, does your resume look like this? No? Does it look better? Maybe? Hopefully? If not, can you make it look like this? I've had a lot of people comment on my resume that they really like it. This is not the best resume. I'm sure that there's others out there that are, that are better, but this resume here has probably got me, not this exact one, because this is a new rendition, because I remake them, and slightly alter them, but this format has probably netted me over 50 interviews, I would think. Yeah, that's probably about right. Maybe a little bit more. And so, does it work? Yeah. And so this interview process, a resume is not going to land you a job. A resume is going to land you an interview. So if I got 50 interviews with this resume, did it do its job? Yeah. And then it's my job to sell myself in an interview. Something I wasn't always the best at. I'm far better at now. But, yeah. Anyway, how do you help yourself? Happy to help out. Happy to provide some ideas. And I hope that this has been meaningful for you. And I'd really love to hear any sort of success stories where you created a resume yourself and then got an interview because of my ideas. I'd love to hear that. That'd be great.